I pray that she'll be okay, so I won't be long.
That's fine. You can start over.
Yes, I won't be long at all. I'm just here to introduce a newer business to the city of Mobile, or in the county of Mobile. I'm just going to go back to where I was so that I won't prolong. But we own, my husband and I, we own 20 kayaks that are for rent at 11 waterways throughout Mobile County. And they are delivered to public kayak or boat launches, to calm inland waters, ponds, streams, and lakes. We also got licensed to deliver them to private residences, people that own waterfront property throughout the county of Mobile. If they are having a gathering or a party or anything like that, they would still have the same safety waivers that would have to be signed for insurance purposes. And 4 of the waterways of the 11 total are in the city of Mobile. We will open full-time starting for the spring season, just as there are 42 other kayak rental businesses that are in Escambia, Baldwin, but none of them deliver to Mobile. So we will open full-time just as they will for the spring season in April. The delivery is for tourists that may visit in the county of Mobile or the city of Mobile, also for waterfront property owners and for local families. The drop-off and delivery includes a kayak and a paddle. It includes a safety whistle. It includes the required, with the insurance, required the U.S. Coast Guard standard safety vest, and they have to have a 2-minute paddle lesson and safety training, and that's just something we provide to prevent tip-overs. Also, if a youth or person that's, say, 12 years old wants to kayak in any of the 11 waterways, they must be accompanied by an adult. That adult must sign the waiver as well as them. Booking is completed online to rent a kayak. They must have ID, registration, safety waivers, the rental agreement, and the payment and all of that is completed before a kayak is delivered. Rental rates, and I know we've already disclosed this for the city licensing as well as with the Parks and Recreation, but rental rates are affordable for families at a rate of $25 for an adult and $15 for a youth. And then a person may kayak or a renter may kayak at the location of their choice. For insurance purposes.
Ms. Gaines?
Have we exceeded the time?
You have your 3 minutes.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question, Ms. Gaines. Congratulations on your business venture.
Thank you.
But did you have any issues with your, again, business license?
I did not. We've been kayaking here in Mobile.
Yeah, because the reason I asked that, because you signed up about questions about license and permits for your business.
Yeah, the mayor's office called me yesterday about that, and that was all clarified.
Okay, yeah, and that's why I was trying to explain at the beginning of before you started talking.
Yeah.
Because whatever you signed up on, that's what you had to speak on at the council meeting and everything. But again, congratulations on your business, and I wish you much success in the future.
Okay.
Right.
They explained to me to just introduce the business today because all of the permits and all of that were done.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Madam Clerk.
Elizabeth Chipelish. Good morning, council and staff. I'm Elizabeth Chipelish, 1860 Government Street. This morning, one of our fragile citizens, whom I will call Brianna, is sitting isolated in a Mobile Infirmary Hospital room now for 95 days. Her situation is cruel and unjust. Alabama's elected officials have chosen to allow the state of Alabama and Mobile's mental health care system to remain in a disarray for way too long. Brianna is homeless and severely schizophrenic. She is part of the schizophrenic population whose mental disease is unresponsive to treatment. Brianna spent the last years manically pacing up and down Dauphin and Government Street in Midtown. Her nights were spent sleeping in a doorway of a local church. In December, when the temperatures went dangerously low, the priest of that church invited her to come inside and spend the night. Due to her delusions and auditory and visual hallucinations, she became aggressive with the parishioners of that church. She spat on an 80-year-old man. Then, in a manic and delusional state, Brianna committed an unspeakable act on the altar of this church. Finally, Mobile Infirmary admitted her. Since that time, I have received numerous calls from Mobile Infirmary's psychiatric caseworkers asking me to help find a place for Brianna. These diligent and connected social workers have exhausted all of their resources in finding a permanent care facility in Alabama to house Brianna. After calling Alta Point numerous times for help, these case managers have deemed again Alta Point is a dead end. I have even called the Alabama Department of Mental Health in Montgomery. Still no place for Brianna. I suspect, like in many similar cases in Mobile in the past, Brianna will soon be released to walk the streets of Mobile. Will you use your power to help keep your citizens safe from Brianna? Will you please call Montgomery, Washington, Alta Point, someone? I'm here to tell you that there are hundreds of Briannas lost on the streets of Mobile. It wasn't too long ago a delusional man murdered and cut the head off of a convenience store attendant at the corner of Broad and Government, making national news. It's only a matter of time before another horrific incident in Mobile occurs like this. Please do your job and protect your constituents.
Thank you so much and everything. And we constantly do get in touch with our state legislators to ask for more funding for mental health, and especially up in to open up the old Mount Vernon location. It's not only homeless people that have mental illness, it's people that shelter and have their own homes that have mental illness and walk our streets every day. But I also encourage you to contact the state legislators and the state senators to ask them to put more funding into mental illness, because again, that's just not for homeless; it's all across and everything. But thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. But I do want y'all to know this specific case is a clear and present danger. And I have her real name and the Mobile Infirmary's contact if someone would like to step in and protect our city. Thank you.
Wesley Young. Following Wesley Young is Gregory Dennis.
Good afternoon. My name is Wesley Young. I reside at 3058 James Street, Mobile, Alabama. I rise this morning to speak on behalf of the Mobile Public Service workers as it relates to the raises that we were supposed to be, that the employees were supposed to be receiving. I had an opportunity to listen to the mayor this morning, listen at his programs that he's trying to implement, and I think it's the best thing that happened to Mobile Public Service in 20 years. Because they're going to discover that those employees are making less money than all the other employees in this city. And they are driving vehicles, and they are professional drivers, and they are making like $11 an hour. And we've just lost one, went to Waste Management, received a $5,000 bonus, and making over $24,000 an hour. We're going to lose our employees if we don't step up to the plate. I had an opportunity to talk to the mayor out there, and I commended the mayor. And I told him how much I appreciate what he's doing. and that goes for the entire administration. We are finally doing something right in Mobile as it relates to these employees. The other subject I have today is about retirees. I had an opportunity to speak with Director Barbara. We're going to work on that through the legislature, trying to help these retirees. We have retirees that have diabetes, and they're spending $300 a month on medication. And with the rise of cost of all of these other products, the gasoline, the stores, their checks is dwindling. These retirees need help. I brought some with me this morning. If it's okay with you, Mr. President, I would like them to stand. All retirees for City of Mobile, would you please stand? This is just a few. And we have one gentleman up top up there. He's one of the ones that's paying $368 a month for his diabetes medicine. You know, it's a shame. Once you retire, you would think that the city would continue to take care of you if they have money, but it seems like that's not the case. But again, I think the mayor's plan that he has in effect is the best thing that could happen to Mobile Public Service in the last 20 years. When a man does something right, I'm the first one to tell him, thank you. But if he do something I disagree with, I'm the first one to tell him, no, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Madam Clerk.
Gregory Dennis. Following Gregory Dennis is Clarissa Perkins.
Good morning. My name is Gregory Dennis, and I live at 5919 Warewood Drive South. Hillsdale Heights is a subdivision that was built for blacks around 1958. The University of South Alabama was founded in 1963 and sits behind Hillsdale Heights subdivision. The University of South Alabama presented a map of the neighborhood, drawing a red line, identifying the area they wanted to occupy. This resulted in the city and the University of South Alabama invading the neighborhood, taking discriminatory and illegal actions against the residents to force them out. The city of Mobile stopped maintaining the infrastructure drainage system behind the red line. University of South Alabama stopped maintaining the property they own. University of South Alabama illegally barricaded the streets in the neighborhood with the support of city officials, pushing the residents out of the area they wanted to occupy. Barricading the streets in the neighborhood was as destructive as the bombs Putin's dropping in Ukraine. The city of Mobile and the University of South Alabama is still dropping bombs. The University of South Alabama is still illegally barricading the streets, and the city officials are still falsifying service request orders, refusing to maintain the infrastructure and drainage system behind the red line of discrimination. I've provided you with 20 plus examples of service request orders illegally documented. The evidence confirms the work has not been completed. Because of time constraints, I'm only going to focus on one. OLS 7835 was created on October 21st, 2021, and closed on January 13, 2022. The city records show the cave-in was repaired, and the evidence presented clearly confirms the repairs has not been done. It's my understanding that it's illegal for city officials to falsify reports and or documents. I'm in a war against the city of Mobile and the University of South Alabama for my home. I've got the same choices as the people of Ukraine. I can leave my home and neighborhood, or I can stay and fight. I'm going to stay and fight. I live in District 7. I don't have a voice on this council to help me and the residents of Hillsdale. In an attempt to try to cover up the discriminatory activity for several decades, they decided to repair one of the ditches in the neighborhood because of redistricting and their desire for annexation. As you can see from the falsification of SROs, they're still dropping bombs, refusing to repair the infrastructure and drainage system behind the red line of discrimination. Falsifying records, failing to make the repairs is just like dropping a bomb, which will result in total destruction. Help me break these chains of injustice and discrimination. Help me get the knee off the residents of Hillsdale neck so we can breathe. In Jesus' name, amen.
Mr. Dennis, thank you for coming down. I'm going to ask that you speak to two individuals, if possible, Keisha and also Jordan. they handle the SROs and 311 calls, and they could be able to find out simply why was each project was closed out, and to see exactly what's going on, to bring it to the attention to the administration and also yourself and everything. But again, thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Not directing them, but just asking them. Y'all can just follow up with Mr. Dennis. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Clarissa Perkins. Following Clarissa Perkins is Reverend David Edwards.
Good morning, City Councilman. First, giving honor to God, who is the head of my life. My name is Clarissa Perkins, residing at 659 South Bayou Street, District 2. I will be addressing the council today about my sidewalk apron issues. I'm visually impaired. It's categorized as legally blind. I'm on and off a cane based on my disability, as well as based on the fact that I was in 2 back-to-back car accidents in November 19 and December 2020. When I walk to my mailbox, I often stumble. I recently spoke with William Carroll and Councilman Carroll in January of 2022 this year. Levon Manzi did promise me that he was going to finish the sidewalk before his demise. Y'all have to excuse me. I'm a little out of it because of what happened with the lady. Levon Manzi's promised to fix my sidewalk based on what happened with the community through the capital improvement funds. And this did not happen. It was truly a devastating loss for our community to lose Mr. Manzi. I placed that 311 call in January and reached a great inspector by the name of Tony. He came out in severe weather conditions, so I do want to recognize that. I spoke with Tammy at, I believe, 208-6071 that kept hanging up the phone on me over 10 times. I kept calling back because I'm a person of perseverance. If someone shuts the front door, I do believe in going through the back or the side. I will be heard. This issue was started on almost a year ago, and it's still left undone. I'm not going to leave no stone unturned with this matter. During the project, workers did come out and work diligently on the sidewalk in severe weather. I've also spoken with Tony about this since then, and Tammy said that Tony didn't know what he was talking about with the project. I then contacted Councilman Carrollman on his cell number. He stated he would be out to look at the sidewalk itself. I have heard nothing regarding this matter from Councilman Carroll. Mr. Carroll, it is your duty and your responsibility.
You can't address no person.
Okay,
just
well,
address me. Address me.
I apologize, President Small.
You're fine.
It is the duty of the council to pick up where Mr. Levon Manzi left off. No excuses, just adjustments. Thank you for your time.
And Ms. Perkins,
Yes.
Thank you for coming down and addressing the council and everything. And, it's the responsibility of the council person to be an advocate for their constituents. But the job of the sidewalks and telling employees what to do lies among the administration. The administration has admitted that they, is their work with that particular on your sidewalk, and I think Colonel DeLap, you want to.
So did they admit that they overlooked the sidewalk?
Yes, ma'am. I'm trying to get you some more answers.
All I can say is the city engineer and his staff are looking specifically at this issue, and then I think we'll have more answers for you here shortly on what the plan is going forward to fix whatever the situation is there.
Approximately how long would she hear from the city, the administration?
I mean, I can't give a specific, but I would say I think they went out this morning to go look at it. I just haven't gotten a report on that. So I would assume in a very short order in the next 24 hours, I would think they would be able to tell you what was assessed, and then when they have a plan of action and getting out and remedying if that's the case.
Thank you, Colonel. So in about 48 hours, Ms. Perkins, you should hear from the city.
Can I get a contact number, Mr. Small, dealing with someone?
Yes, Ms. Keisha that Brown that contacted you on yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. You can just go, keep in contact with her.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for listening, and thank you guys for your time. I hope you have an awesome, blessed day.
Take care now.
So, Mr. President,
Mr. Woods.
got to make 2 points of clarity. One, Mr. Carroll has no duty whatsoever, legally or otherwise, to maintain sidewalks. Neither does any council member. I want to say that because it often gets said. So that's beyond the point. The other thing is, according to our ordinance, the abutting sidewalk is controlled, and it is the duty of the abutting landowner. So that's even when we put the sidewalks down. Now, we are sending the city engineer out there to look at it, but we are by no means taking on a duty, either from the council or from the administration, to take on sidewalks across the board. That's it's counter to the ordinance. And the reason I put that out there is because it's a question that comes up on a regular basis, not just in this meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk.
Reverend Edwards. Following Reverend Edwards is Michelle Simons.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is David Edwards. I reside at 670 Fisher Street, Mobile, Alabama, 36607. And just before I get started, I'd like to thank the council and the mayor's office and all that you do to help people united to advance the dream, bring about the peace and gathering that we do each year for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. I'd like to also make sure that we acknowledge and commemorate such an occasion that's coming up on April the 4th, which will commemorate the 54th year of the assassination of Dr. King. And in doing that, I don't need to quote the statistics of what we have going on and see in our city, in our county, concerning violence. People United to Advance the Dream have a program called Stop the Violence. And in that particular program, we would like to implement this year a section of that. You have a flyer in front of you, and what it says is no more silence in gun violence. April the 4th, Monday, April the 4th, 2022, we lay down the guns this day in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We come together at 6 p.m. That flyer is what we'd like to get disseminated and sent out to all the churches. I've spoke to organizations so that we can all come together as a city and a county. This is just not a Mobile City issue. This is a county-wide issue. And we like to come together to see if we can address it. We must make some bold statements. First of all, we must let people know that there are more of us against gun violence than there are of those that want to implement gun violence. And the only way we can do that is come together as one and speak the same language. We are asking for the council, the mayor office, the county to help us in putting out 800 yard signs similar to these yard signs here, if you would raise them up. And this is Women's Month, so I got women holding up these signs. If you will show them to everybody. They've got two young men on one side that's laying down their guns, and what we're implementing and trying to do is get everybody to lay their gun down on that particular day. Here is the end result. If they leave that gun at home on that particular day, maybe they'll leave it the next day. We need support and you to use your media platform, the news channels, because the news channels got the shootings all over the place. Everybody knew about them. Let's get the news to publicize this, and let's all come together, and each council member in their district, would you get together with your constituents, and that's where you all will meet at 6 p.m. on that evening. And when your constituents come to that area, if all of them can't get there, let's use the parks. Let's use the church parking lots. Let's use the parking lots and shopping centers. Let's get together at many different locations as we can and send the message that we are standing together and we're not allowing our communities to be taken away with these gun violence. Let's also send the message that this right here, number one, there's a story in the Bible in Genesis chapter 11 where the people all spoke the same language. And when they spoke the same language, what they said, they was going to build a tower. God said, listen, let us go down here and confound the language, because if we don't, there won't be anything impossible to them. There won't be anything impossible to Mobile if we'll all come together and we can get your support. Thank you so much for your time.
Reverend Edwards,
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming down, and I kind of disagree with you just a little bit. It's not a Mobile County, just a Mobile County issue. It's a nationwide issue.
Absolutely.
With these guns. And what is the event going to be held at again, April the 4th?
The event will be held in your district.
Just in each district?
That's exactly the logistics of making sure that you're not in one place gathered up so someone else can try something ignorant and maybe try to disrupt what we're planning.
So is it going to be something formal in each district, or just people just do this on their own?
Just gathering in the district, and we're asking for the district council people to be the one that spearhead that particular gathering. Okay. And of course, I've talked to many ministers and organizations. The ministers from the International Ministerial Alliance and all, they are willing to use their edifice parking lot for those that can't get to wherever the constituents are going to have the meeting at. Okay. Wherever y'all have your meeting at is fine. It'll be outdoors. And we're going to ask the media to simultaneously cast this so that we'll send the message. Because if we don't do something, then anything will happen.
I agree with you. Thank you so much, Reverend.
Thank you.
And thank you, ladies. Madam Clerk.
Michelle Simons. Following Michelle Simons is Cynthia House.
Good morning.
Morning.
Michelle Simons at 1106 Savannah Street. I've been coming to these meetings for a while now, and I just want to raise a concern about what appears to be a waning energy for and interest in this ongoing challenge of creating a healthy voting district map for the city of Mobile. So I want to just bring up two crucial issues that we just haven't talked about in here. First one is, you would have to be living under a rock not to notice that we have a second major political party in this country that has decided as an election strategy to suppress votes. This is a quote from one of the leaders of that party. They had things in their levels of voting that if you ever agreed to it, you'd never have a Republican elected in this country again. I am not saying that's what's happening here, but I am saying that it is impossible to see the actions of the city in any other light right now. I also will say that I think Abraham Lincoln is probably rolling over in his grave daily. The second context and issue is more important even. A few weeks ago, the mayor brought in a young African-American child, Caden Reed, who had saved his little sister from being harmed in the street. A number of council members had warm praise for Caden and high hopes for his future. I'd like to say something about Caden Reed's future in Mobile. If he stays in Mobile, he is 2.5 times more likely than a white child his age to grow up in poverty. If he stays in Mobile, he is less than half as likely to receive an education that enables him to graduate from a 4-year college or university in this city. If he stays in Mobile, he is almost 3 times more likely to be unemployed than a white man his age. If he stays in Mobile, he is over twice as likely to be incarcerated. He is almost twice as likely to die before he is 75. This is not one Mobile. This is at least 2 cities. And until we address directly the disparities in this city, we are going to have the same terrible outcomes for over half the population. I ask you to consider the maps that you have before you, the mayor's map and the 2 maps that have been, at least 2, submitted by concerned Mobile citizens in light of these issues, especially the life of Caden Reed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cynthia House. Following Cynthia House, we have 3 people signed to address the resolution on low-speed vehicles. Tom Cunningham, Kenny Nichols, and Sabrina Mass.
Good morning. I'm Cynthia House, and I live at 360 Tuttle Avenue in the city of Mobile, District 2. As we all know, the 2020 census showed that the city of Mobile is now a majority people of color city, specifically with majority Black population. This means that the city is required to redraw the current city council district maps that reflect that, and also to ensure that the Black citizens of the city of Mobile are properly represented here in Government Plaza. Now, the mayor's office did release a map some months ago, but in my mind, it didn't really hit the legal and moral obligations the city has. However, a few weeks ago, a coalition of community groups from across the city came together to present a number of alternative redistricting maps. This coalition included the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, the NAACP, Stand Up Mobile, as well as other community leaders and members. The maps released by the Community Coalition do meet the obligations the city has. And in fact, those maps were very close to the one presented by the mayor, only moving a few neighborhoods in order to meet these obligations of hitting the threshold Black voting population age of 53 and 44% respectively. And they do this with just a few changes. And this shows that it can be done quite easily, in fact, in my mind. We urge you to review these maps, share them with your constituents, and consider them for passage. We also urge that you move forward as soon as possible to schedule the committee to meet and discuss them, and to do a spatial polarization study to ensure that whichever maps go into effect are fair and legal. We as a city must meet our obligations and do right by the Voting Rights Act, so our citizens and our city can move forward, united, knowing that all citizens are finally properly represented. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Cunningham. Following Tom Cunningham is Kenny Nichols and Sabrina Math.
I just want to make one comment before he comes on 37-274, the golf cart, which is also known as the low-speed vehicles. We're going to hold a vote. We're going to hold this over until April the 19th, and we are going to have a committee meeting on April the 12th.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Tom Cunningham. My address is 4813 Ravine Court. What I want to focus on is speed and traffic flow, specifically in the Spring Hill area on 35-mile-per-hour, two-lane roads. I've heard that one of the concerns for low-speed vehicles on 35-mile-per-hour roads is that it'll slow traffic down. I don't think low-speed vehicles will be on Old Shell, Benton Spur, and McGregor long enough to impact traffic. Low-speed vehicles run between 20 and 25 miles per hour. Using 23 miles per hour as an example, a vehicle will travel 11.2 yards per second. I live in Ravine Woods. It's one of the largest neighborhoods in Spring Hill. To get to one of the four main attractions in the Old Shell, Benton Spur, and McGregor corridor, the average travel distance from my neighborhood is 568 yards, which takes 50 and a half seconds to traverse. That's less than 1 minute that a street legal golf cart will be on one of these 35-mile-per-hour roads. These figures would be similar to those departing Country Club Village, Country Club Estates, Kingswood, Spring Hill Manor, and Mary B. Austin. I just don't think that, so from my neighborhood, like if we want to go to Loretta Park, I would be on Old Shell Road for 450 yards. That's 40 seconds. If I wanted to go to Spring Hill Swim Club, I would be on Museum Drive for 500 yards, 44 and a half seconds. If I wanted to go up to Rouse's, I would be on Old Shell Road for 475 yards, 42 seconds. Then I'd take a left on McGregor for 175 yards, which would take me 15 seconds. If I wanted to go to Spring Hill College to watch a baseball game or to play on their fields, I would be on Old Shell Road for 850 yards, which is 76 seconds. Only one of these locations would take more than 60 seconds to reach. So again, I don't think low-speed vehicles will impact traffic flow, at least in the Spring Hill community on 35-mile-per-hour two-lane roads. I can't speak for Midtown and I can't speak for downtown, but I know a lot of people in my area use these street legal golf carts, and I don't see the slowing down of traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon. Kenny Nichols, 490 Pine Court. Touching on some of the comments that Mr. Cunningham made, first of all, I want to thank the council for bringing forth this to really clarify a lot of the misconceptions and things like that. I'm confident that we'll reach a solution that works for everybody. It's no secret that low-speed vehicles are gaining in popularity all across the country, mainly for use, short trips and things like that. And also as, fuel prices rise, most of them are electric, and so it just kind of makes sense to go with those. First and foremost, I think all of us speaking on behalf of this ordinance and then those who are not here, we fully support portions of the ordinance with respect to having to have the vehicle insured, having to have the vehicle registered, having to have a driver's license in the state of Alabama to be able to operate these on our city streets. But we do believe that the proposed ordinance limiting the usage to 25 miles an hour is overly restrictive. It's really only beneficial to those who live inside the loop and perhaps areas like Oakley, where you can actually use a 25-mile-an-hour road to cross Broad Street. And so the rest of us, in other areas of the city, we don't have that luxury, mainly because of the way that the street grid system has been laid out over time. I think it's important to note that a lot of times when developing ordinances and things like that, we look to other places to see what may be out there and what others have done. I would note that there's 4 states geographically that touch Alabama: Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi. Florida, which has the greatest number of LSVs in the country, by my research, state law, 35 miles an hour. Not 25, 35. Georgia, 35 miles an hour. Tennessee, 35 miles an hour. And last, Mississippi, they don't have a state statute. They just allow it, basically local ordinance. I know there's concerns about safety and speeds. I guess first and foremost, as it relates to both speed and safety, bikes are allowed to use the roads. They don't have to have near the safety equipment that a federally defined low-speed vehicle has to have. And secondly, under our proposal, which would allow the use of low-speed vehicles on 2-lane roads with posted speed limits of 35 miles an hour or less, if you drive around the city, you'll note that many of these are narrow roads and, you can't pass whether there's a bike or a low-speed vehicle there to begin with. Finally, as it relates to slowing down traffic, all 7 of you have been on the council various lengths of time. I'd be willing to bet that you get a lot more calls from constituents about wanting to slow traffic down than speed traffic up. Speed kills. Fast speed kills. Slow speed does not. So I look forward to discussing this further and, having a voice in committee and coming to a resolution that works for all. Thank you.
Good morning. Sabrina Mass, 1050 Belvedere Circle West. Good morning to the mayor's administration, city council, Ms. Lambert and staff. If I may I ask a question before I even open my mouth? So the golf carts, are they saying they want the golf carts to be in the city of Mobile, just the city limits, period, to be inoperable in just the city in itself?
Pretty much that's, you're talking about, yes.
Like on airport and the city.
It's,
and if Chris wants to step in here in a little bit after the statement, but the way the ordinance is structured is that you can't you can't be on major intersections or byways or cross major interstates. So that's the way it's structured. To talk a little bit more, I think that there has been a request from a council member to increase the speed to 35 miles an hour earlier this week, which I think there was language for that was developed, but also some streets that he possibly wanted to exclude in his amendment to the ordinance, but however, it's been assigned to committee to further discuss other options and what other states have done. The lateral crossing we discussed a couple of weeks ago that stated that a lateral crossing on a two-lane street where the traffic was a little bit faster and higher, we had to have some concession on that, but how far? 800 yards is 800 football fields, which is half a mile. That's quite a long ways to make a lateral crossing. 200 yards, 300 yards, we can see something like that because not every street goes, it's right across from the other street in the community to make a left turn to get to a golf course or another community. Those things we've discussed before. We're going to continue to discuss them in the public safety meeting that was scheduled this morning. That date will be made public here soon by the chairperson of the public safety committee. These items we'll look at again in detail and hopefully come to some resolution on the ordinance structure. I personally don't have a problem with 35 miles an hour. And if you remember, I heard bikes mentioned. It was me back in 2009 when I said, give me 3 feet for the bicycles because of the same issue. But now we're installing bicycle lanes all over the city. So, I mean, we're working to get to a point to where Mobile is just as accessible as everywhere else. But the golf carts aren't the only low speed moving vehicles we have. We've got scooters downtown, bicycles downtown, hover machine. There are all kinds of things that at some point we're going to have to consider. So that's your answer. And yes, we're going to dig a little bit more into it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I mean, personally, I don't have a problem with golf carts because I like golf carts myself. But I think the problem I have if it's on a major street like Airport, Hillcrest, major streets, we already dealing with traffic issues right now. And then not only that, the public safety, that's going to bring an issue at hand with them. They're already dealing with traffic as it is. And then safety of the citizens. I mean, we already speed now. We already go. I mean, not that I'm trying to get a ticket. We already speeding as it is. So I think it's going to be a safety issue in certain areas if you guys allow the golf carts to be on totally busy streets. I think subdivisions are good, maybe a smaller, area, a safer area. Downtown, of course, is good. But if we're talking about airport or major streets, I just personally think that's just saying that's setting up for someone's death.
We agree with you, Ms.
Okay, you do. Oh, you agree? Okay, well, I'm gonna sit down. Y'all have a good day.
Reggie Hill.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. For every serious problem, there's a real solution. Citizens and stakeholders of Mobile, greetings. Reggie Hill, 1007 Center Street. To be clear, it's not about the number of times the citizen speaks. Instead, it's about the necessity of the citizen's message. I rise today to address those matters offered within the agenda. I expect the Mobilians to understand that this is no hustle of optimism. There's no light switch approach to anything in our chronological geographical setting. As I begin to entitle my presentation, I am pressed to remind you that science and religion each agree that it is darkest before dawn. Seldomly, nonetheless, we too rarely give regard to the fact that dawn isn't even the brightest part of the day. As I stand before you this week, I can't help but reflect on what the council president shared at a prior meeting. Anytime that I engaged with LaVon Manson, you can count on him for saying 3 things. So far, so good. Ain't no sense in complaining, and sounds like a winner. With his absence, in light of everything going on here, it makes perfect sense. While we face so many mountains as a city, we're lacking good sense in winning where it counts, as if we lost our center focus. I would like to proceed with the Mobile Civic Center. Kudos for the resources that were spent last week on the riverfront. No resident of this city has campaigned more enthusiastically than I for the proper development of the area. Without losing capital, we'd invest at least the already settled resources into an internationally acclaimed and unparalleled facility for opportunity. The Mobile Civic Center, name it after Outlaw, if you want. Truly involve the people full out throughout the process. Dealing with the Mobile Civic Center, a Port City heirloom, or 01, 2, 4, and 3 won't be successful. As long as our neighbors are worth less than convention chairs, we are light years away from where we should be. Moving to CIP, District 2 still has no idea where $300,000 for a new view, District 2, I believe that's what it's called, is when we just saw a taxpayer speak on that today. So I'm really confused about how we could put $1.2 million into this project, not knowing where it's going. I'm hoping that we can have some more clarity. The reason why I say this is because we just got from our report today. Monthly, we find out departments are under budget. We have $100-something+ million budget in surplus. Why aren't we using those resources there? Two things you can count on Mr. Joel James to say is that's where are you going to get the money from? And when we're dealing with the CIP, we have 200-year-old pipes. Why are we not using these resources to tackle those issues right then and there? I don't have the time to go into what it is that we need to do specifically. I'm going to see the paperwork. I wanted to talk about this ARP and the public safety that we're experiencing here. And I'm just going to get off the notes because, again, we don't have the time to really express it fully. Until we put proper people in place, when we look at this new budget, if we got all this extra money, we need to put it into performance contracts with data-proven initiatives that actually work. I've spoken to you each individually about what those things are. We have examples right here before us. People that are moving forward doing what is necessary. Until we have everybody at the table, we will not move this city in the direction that is, we will not move this city in a place where the quality of life for all our people are represented the way that it should be.
Thank you, Mr.
And that's what matters.
Mr. President.
Yes, Ms. Carroll.
Quick question. What $1.2 million are you referring to?
Well, in the previous meeting, I believe this was you that was offering this, the opportunity for the MLK development. And so what I'm saying is, with the CIP, why not look at the areas? Because, again, you can be selected in a particular area, but your vote impacts the entire city. So people are not going to come here speaking of one area and saying that they had a good time there or a bad time in another. So we know that the drainage, regardless of what's going to happen, we're going to remodel these homes. We have 10 to 15 minutes of rain, and we understand the damage that it does. Why not put those resources there? Get the drainage done first, and then we can go back to reapportion that money properly. And then you, in the district, you wouldn't have to spend the money from the district CIP when we have $100-something+ million in surplus. We have resources there for that right now. If we don't know where the $300,000, which another citizen came down, is wondering where those resources are. So we're going to risk the $1.2 million that puts you in a bind when we already have the money.
The administration is not sitting over there, but the administration has reached out to every council member with a request for additional projects based on surplus. So that type of response will come out later. I can't talk for everyone or what everybody's decided, but you'll hear additional information as that becomes available to everybody else. I just saw Jim come back in. He could probably talk to you after the council meeting and let you know what's been discussed.
And if we're unable to have a communication with those, who should we refer to?
Probably you need to talk to the chief of staff and the CIP director. I believe that's the lab.
Well, you know those items that were submitted in writing, we're still waiting on a response for those. Now, that's the only reason I'm asking for a point of clarity. If we're unable to get a response from them, who do we go to as citizens?
I'll find out.
Sir?
I'll find out.
Thank you. Thank you, Floor.
Ordinance is held over. 34014, ordinance to levy taxes on all real and personal property within the corporate limits for 2022.
So moved.
Second. And properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
61015, ordinance to add Article 11 to Chapter 61, traffic for the Mobile City Code.
Move to hold over till April 19th.
Second.
And properly moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Ms. Gregory.
As you heard some of the speakers mention, we will be holding a Public Safety Committee meeting on April 12th to take up low-speed vehicles. I believe it will be 1 o'clock, 1:30. We will be following the CIP meeting on that day, but a news release will go out about this.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item laid over.
87016, ordinance authorizing lease of property to Distributed Ledger, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
Then properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes.
60017, ordinance to adopt the City of Mobile Unified Development Code.
Move delay over till May 17th.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Vice President?
This also will go to a committee. We will hold what we call a committee of the whole on May 10th. We will allow people to come and speak during that meeting. We don't have the time set yet, but it will be following the council meeting sometime that day. But a news release will go out about that.
Any other discussion?
Mr. President,
Yeah, Mr. Reynolds.
I would just encourage my fellow council members, as I will be doing over the coming month, to read the UDC, figure out what the shortcomings are for you and your constituents, and form an amendment to that UDC in writing that we can file with the city clerk so that we'll be able to vote on those amendments either on the 17th or the 10th or any sooner so that we can move this thing forward for a vote.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item laid over.
Resolutions held over. If there are no objections, I'll take all of these together. 07259, approve issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds by the Public Finance Authority. 08260, approve purchase order to the Mobile Fixture and Equipment Company and Hawk Inc. for various kitchen equipment and supplies for the Arthur R. Outlaw Convention Center. 08261, approve purchase order to Classic Paint and Body for repairs to the Ford ambulance. 08262, approve purchase order to Mobile Bay Harley Davidson for 2 police package motorcycles. 08263, approve purchase order to Pioneer Pool Products for pool chemicals. 08264, approve purchase order to Gray Bar Electric for LED street light fixtures. 09265, transfer funds from general fund to the Convention Center Fund to pay special assessment for the Mobile Convention and Visitors Corporation. 09266, allocate stormwater fee funds to various capital projects. 21267, authorize contract with Tyndall Construction for ADA improvements to the gymnasium restrooms at the Azalea Road Complex. 21268, authorize contract with AA Construction for re-roofing at various city locations. 21269, authorize contract with Sixto Boyer for services as a team leader, cyber specialist for the Gulf Coast Technology Center. 21270, authorized contract with Protect Video for professional services in the deployment and management of analytical and consulting services. 21271, authorized contract with J. Payne Organization for overhead door replacement at the Mobile Sanger Theater. 31272, authorized GOMESA grant agreement with the State of Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. 37274, consider approval of a certificate of public convenience and necessity to July Enterprises doing business as Coastal Express Shuttle to operate a shuttle service. 47275, vacate a portion of the public street and right-of-way situated at the southwest corner of the intersection of Congress Street and North Cedar Street.
So moved.
Second. Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes.
Consent resolutions being introduced, 31276 through 58284.
Move to waive the rules for immediate consideration of these resolutions.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Mr. Jones?
Move to hold over 40-282 for 2 weeks.
We'll have to take that one up.
Separate.
Yeah, we'll take that one.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Reynolds?
I'm sorry I didn't hear the call out by the clerk, but you may have. But
No, we just,
4279.
no, we gonna bring that up later on.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Madam, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Rules of waived.
31276, 277 are authorizing grant applications to the U.S. Department of Transportation, Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration for public pipeline safety information grants to communities. And 4, Rebuilding American Infrastructure and Sustainability and Equity Discretionary Grant. 37-278, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a retail beer table wine off-premises only license for the Westmobile Produce and Market on Shillings Road South. 40-280 and 281 are declaring the structures at Jamon Circle West, 967 South Dearborn Street, public nuisances and ordering them demolished. 58-283 and 284 are assessing cost for removal of weeds, Weed Lien Group 1622, and Repeat Weed Lien Group 53.
So moved.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes.
4279, declare the structure at 162 Hemley Avenue a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Want a motion to hold over for 60 days?
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item laid over.
4282, declare the structure at 6401 Pinehurst Run a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Move to hold over for 2 weeks.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Items laid over.
CIP resolutions being introduced, 13285.
These are to be laid over for 1 week as per council rules.
Resolutions being introduced, 08286 through 37294.
Move to waive the rules for immediate consideration of 37-294, with the rest of the resolutions being laid over for 1 week per council rules.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk.
37294, refuse renewal of business license of TR LLC doing business as Discount Zone at Azalea Road.
So moved. Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed.
Call for public hearings. 41295, call for public hearing to consider a certificate of public convenience and necessity to MK Non-Emergency Medical Transport to operate a shuttle service scheduled April 12th. 41296, call for public hearing to consider approval of a certificate of public convenience and necessity to Ophir Global, doing business as John Henry Transportation to operate a sedan service scheduled April 12th.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing is called.
Announcements.
District 2, Councilmember Carroll.
No announcements, Mr. President.
All right. District 5, Councilman Days. No announcements. Okay. District 6, Councilman Scott Jones.
Thanks, Mr. President. Just a couple of things. We'll have a meeting this Thursday, 6:30 p.m. at the Connie Hudson Center for residents of Carriage Hills and Asheville to talk about a development. Our District 6 meeting for the quarter will be held on the 14th of April, 6:30 p.m. at the Connie Hudson Center. We'll be talking 311 processes, public safety, redistricting, and UDC. Lastly, based on the discussion today, I will advertise that we will hold the end of the gun violence on April the 4th at Medal of Honor Park. I'll need to get this in a PDF to get in the newsletter if we can do that. Then lastly, we keep hearing discussion of a map that is out there, yet there's been nothing presented to this council to review any map or have an official map that we can even discuss at this point. So I would ask that if that map is there, that we get that introduced via ordinance or resolution so we can take that up.
District 1, Councilman Penn.
Thank you, Mr. President. On April the 5th, we will have our community meeting at the Michael Figures Community Center. Starts at 6 p.m. And I look forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you, Mr. President.
It's going to be District 4, Councilman Reynolds.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. We have a Rules Committee meeting scheduled for today. It was set for noon. Looks like we ran over, so we'll have that meeting at 1:30 in the council conference room. Also, I also want to thank my colleagues for having the confidence in me to be able to serve as the Rules Committee Chairman with my new appointment. Look forward to working with y'all. Also, on April 12th, the Capital Improvement Committee will meet at 1 o'clock on April the 12th. Thank you.
And Council Member Vice President Gregory, District 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to repeat, we will be holding a Public Safety Committee meeting for low-speed vehicles on April 12th. It will follow the CIP meeting that is also scheduled that day. We'll send out releases with the time. Our meetings have been running long these days, so when we give you a timeline, it's we hope to get there, but just stick with us. You know, we'll get these meetings done back to back. One other announcement, coming up on April 13th, we'll be holding a meeting, informational meeting, if you will, at the New Jerusalem Baptist Church at 7220 First Street in Mobile Terrace. This will be for people to come by and pick up applications from the Neighborhood Development Department's Critical Repair Program. We will also have people there on site to help answer questions. We have flyers that we've been putting out to anyone who is interested in coming. Of course, there are qualifications that you have to meet, but we thought it would be a good idea to give people an opportunity to pick up these applications in person during the daytime and talk with people who can help answer their questions in order to move the process along a little quicker. Again, that will be on April 13th. It is at the New Jerusalem Baptist Church, 7220 First Street in Mobile Terrace.
I would say my announcements for next week with our Easter egg hunt and district meetings. Anything else from this council?
Yeah, just to note, the administration was given copies of the map from the group. They have it in their possession. It was given to me. I also thought that the group had given these maps to everyone else. But we are currently vetting that map, as I have stated for the last 3 weeks in a row. And once vetted to make sure that it does match and meet our requirements, there will be an ordinance presented to each and every one of you to consider, along with the one that the mayor's given. If you would like to look at those maps beforehand, I think the other copy for everyone else is in the hands of the administration or was given to each council member.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, hold up. Anything from the administration?
I was just going to update you on the medical emergency. She seems to be doing fine.
Anything else? Not, can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting? Properly moved in second. Any discussion?